What's the creepiest or most unexplainable thing you've ever seen that you haven't shared anywhere? My husband and I were walking in the downtown area of Seaside or. It was late December, so it was pretty sparse and many shops were closed as it was a Sunday morning as well. I stepped into a Celtic shop and it was filled with people, all of whom became silent when I entered. As soon as I crossed the threshold I felt heavy and blurry. The lady behind the counter said something to me and tried to hand me a pendant. Immediately, I saw darkness and dread, everything felt black, I felt like something was pressing on my chest. I had never felt such darkness before. I somehow ran out the door and as soon as I was on the sidewalk I was completely fine, as if nothing had happened. My husband wanted to go in because he loves places like that, and it was then I realized that I had no idea why he didn't go in with me in the first place. We were newly married and had been walking with his arm around me, so it was very odd. I just said, "No, we're not going in there," and dragged him away. I have been to Seaside many times since then and the shop is no longer there and I cannot find the place where I remember it to be. Used to live in a house with two roommates, let's call them Anna and Erica. I lived on the second floor and Anna and Erica lived downstairs. Every night I would hear this thud, thud coming from downstairs. I would investigate and it always came from Anna's room. I thought it was her doing burpees or working out at night, which seems dumb looking back. I never talked to Erica about it because I thought it was in my head, and since I was on the second floor it never really bothered me. Fast forward 2 years and we all move into a new house with another roommate. Anna, Erica, and I live on the same floor upstairs. I start hearing the thud, thud louder now. I go up to Anna's door and it sounds like she's hitting herself against a wall and whispering and crying or laughing. I also noticed when she left the room she had her sheets all scattered on the floor. I ask my other roommate Erica about it and she says she hears it too. Anna starts staying at her parents' house more often, but every time she comes home we hear the same thud, thud noise. We started asking Anna about it and she makes up excuses like I was moving furniture or my porch door was swinging open. After we started questioning her more, she only came to our house maybe once a month to pick up some clothes. It was so strange. I never think we'll get an explanation. When I was 5, me and my identical twin sister both caught scarlet fever. We are from America, but my dad's project had temporarily relocated us to India, and we were not used to the water and food there. We both fell into a coma towards the end of the fever. One day I woke up to my mom and aunt screaming and crying and holding my sister because she was unresponsive and not breathing. They were doing chest compressions, CPR, etc., but nothing was working. I was desperately trying to get their attention because I was young and didn't understand what was going on. I went back in my room to go back to sleep, but in the corner of the room where my sister's bed was, I saw her laying there, breathing fine. I went back out to the living room and realized I was looking at myself in my mom's arms as she tried to revive me. Eventually, I saw my eyes flicker open, and then everything went dark. I woke up a few weeks later in the hospital next to my sister and mom, who ended up catching it because of us. My mom told me I had almost died and they were trying to wake me up, but I was unresponsive, so the ambulance took all 3 of us into the ICU. To this day, I am still unsure how I witnessed my almost death. I work as an adult novelty store manager with a theater, so please envision the kind of customers I get. I had this regular who was nice enough and we always exchanged pleasantries and small talk. One day we said goodbye and as he went to leave he stopped dead in his tracks and came back to the counter. He told me that he ignores it every time, but today it wouldn't let him. So naturally I ask, what the hell is he talking about? He proceeds to tell me that there is an older black man who is with me 24/7. He sees him every time I'm in the store. The older black man just stands next to me watching me and smiling. At that point a chill ran up my spine because no one in that store knows besides my boss that I'm half black and my 65-year-old black father that I was so close to passed in 2014. I said the usual wow and oh my god, so I wouldn't give anything away to see what else he says to see if it's legit. The customer proceeds to tell me that the man, my father, is sad about his kids not doing what he's asked them to do, and one particular child I has greatly disappointed him. The man, my father, also wants the customer to tell me how much he loves his wife even though she's married again. At this point I have tears in my eyes because how would this man know there's conflict between me and my siblings because of my dad's death? How would this man know my mother is married again? He kept mentioning that he could feel a strong religious pull with my father. My father was a preacher. He told me a bunch of other things and asked if I was pregnant. I told him no, but apparently my next child will have my father's soul according to him. My 2-year-old son looks like my father and loves his favorite songs. I was working in a retail store in a pretty sketchy area. There was this lady who was obviously a heavy drug user or ex-drug user. She must have been in her 50s or 60s. She was notorious on my block for being a crazy, but she'd visit me all the time and told me she thought I was cute. It was really bizarre cause she looked like a crackhead, but she'd act like a teenage girl around me. I tried to be nice to her cause she was known for being volatile. Anyway, on Christmas Eve she packed an entire Christmas dinner which she told me was all home-cooked Guyanese food and a cologne set. As she was leaving she just squats down on the floor and throws her hand up and starts cackling. Yes, cackling which faded to a giggle. Never saw her again. Edit, yes, I ate it, and I enjoyed it. Confirmed with some Guyanese Redditors, main dish was definitely pepper pot. Second edit, so a lot of you seem really surprised I ate the food. Some describing it as insanity. Some as a mark of true bravery. Let me be very clear, the point of the post wasn't even about me eating the food. I'd basically take free food from a stranger any given day of the week. From the moment she handed me the food, I knew I was going to eat it. Neither the prior knowledge of her being a druggie nor any action she would take after handing me the food was going to change this. Oh, I believe you. Had a similar thing happen when I was around 13 to 14. Family went out for the night to my sister's game, school sports, and I wasn't feeling great so just stayed home watching Enter the Dragon, still remember that vividly. While watching the movie, heard our side door open, the hinges were really creaky, and shut. Then heard about 2 to 3 heavy footsteps, like someone wearing heavy boots, made sense as it was December in Michigan. Called out thinking one of my parents came home early, nothing. Called out again, but this time I was getting the hairs on my arms and legs sticking up as I was spooked, and again nothing. Said nope, and just bolted out our back sliding door, didn't see my parents' car they took, then hid in our truck bed that was covered in front of the house for a sec to see if I could see anyone in the house through our living room window curtains, was a big like 12x8 window. While I waited, I then saw a visible human shadow, curtains were closed, pass in front of the TV. Bolted like 1/2 mile to a friend of the family's house, not fun barefoot in winter. They took me in and called the cops after I explained what happened and why I was there. Cops came and checked it out. Nothing. No wet footprints in our breezeway that led to the side door, or any wet footsteps in the house. Side door was also locked. They even checked for tracks in the snow around the house, but nothing except for my bare footprints running away. I still stand by what I saw and heard and know it wasn't from the movie itself. House did, and still, scares me, other paranormal shit in that house all growing up till we finally moved when I was 15. I went to one of the oldest universities in Canada that was originally Roman Catholic. There are rumors of a nun who killed herself out of shame for falling in love with a priest there, and the building is said to be haunted to this day. There were also rumors going around that there were underground tunnels running below the building, but no one could confirm their existence. One night I was out smoking and chatting about all of this with some friends when a student I had never met before approached us and said that the tunnels were in fact real. He told us to follow him and we did. He stopped at his room to grab a butter knife and then took us through a random series of doors and stairwells until we reached a door at the end of a long hallway in the basement of the building. He picked the lock with the knife and to our great surprise, we were now entering the tunnels. We had to physically crawl between rooms and I had this awful sinking feeling the whole time that some weird shit had happened down here. We eventually got out of there and never spoke of it again. A very good friend of mine was battling lung cancer. He seemed to be responding very well to treatment and was looking pretty damn good for having finished chemo. He contracted pneumonia, but he was doing so well we thought he would be pull through. Went to bed that night and shortly after 10 I get this very odd sensation of someone passing through my room. Like there was a presence in my room, but it felt light and very free. My immediate thought was both, that was friend, and check the time. But I didn't, I ignored it and tried to go to sleep. Slept like shit all night because I knew something was wrong, but I was trying to rationalize it. Got to work the next morning and check Facebook, absolutely knowing in my heart what I am going to see, but hoping I won't. Friend had passed shortly after 10 the night before. Around 10 days later I had a very vivid dream that I was sitting in a cafe outside in the sunshine with friend. He looked great, very healthy, and well. He had a very distinctive laugh that everyone in my family mimics when we talk about him, and I remember him laughing in the dream. We had a long conversation I unfortunately don't remember the details of. After we were done talking he went inside to the restaurant and I followed. He sat down at this big table and all these people started coming in to sit with him. They were looking at me with mild curiosity, like who are you and why are you here, but not in a threatening way. I remember thinking in my dream, I don't belong here. I woke up, but felt relieved from the burden of grief I was carrying for friend. I know he's okay now. When I was younger, around 8 years old or so I used to lie awake in bed and listen to someone play our piano late into the night. My brother and I both took lessons, but being elementary-aged kids we could really only play the most basic songs. Also, neither of our parents knew how to play, so it couldn't have been them either. And yet, I would find myself getting up to use the bathroom well after everyone had gone to bed and there it would be. Piano music so beautiful that I would sit on the floor of the bathroom and listen. I didn't know the word back then, but I would definitely describe it today as ethereal. The music would be quiet though, I often wondered if it was maybe in my head but I had no way of creating it. I played piano for over a decade and believe me, learning to play music and learning to create music are vastly different things. I cannot make music to save my life. Surprisingly, I never felt worried or like I needed to go investigate, instead I would just sit and enjoy for a bit before heading back to bed. As I got older and busier, I found myself sleeping through the night and never really heard the music again. But I do often think back now and wonder where in the hell it could have been coming from. A decade ago a girlfriend, let's call her M, moved in with me but she gave me a warning, there's a man that follows me, he's not evil or anything like that, but he doesn't like men. That should have been the time I noped the EFF out of my own home but I was in love and just accepted her wild statement. Fast forward a few months later, home alone, M just left for work and I'm showering. I hear the bathroom door open and hit the dresser behind it. I look to my right and see a shadow through the curtain. I jokingly say out loud, "Oh, you're back for some bonus shower time." As I open the curtain, nobody is there, still home alone. A few days later I come home from work and hang my keys on the hook like I always do and walk away. An hour goes by when I notice my keys, rocking back and forth on the hook. Minutes turn into hours as my keys keep rocking. Finally M comes home and looks at me, looks at the keys and asks how long. I just stared at her as she stops the keys as if it was as common as op not delivering on a lock safe. The two worst ones happened close together, Again I'm in the bathroom, on my knees as I scrub the tub. I feel as though someone is next to me, breathing on me. As I jerk away, a hand grabs my leg and yanks me towards the bathroom door, and then nothing. That night I'm out with a group of friends, I'm telling them these same stories, and at the end the light above us flickers and shuts off. As we all look up to the light, my chair gets picked up and thrown into the table. I turn around to scold the jackass behind me, but nobody was there. Everyone just stared at me with shocked looks on their faces because they just witnessed the man. The finale. It's late and M is downstairs in bed. I'm turning off the lights as I hear our laundry room door close and footsteps leading to the bedroom. My brain is thinking M is awake, so I go to the bedroom. I open the door to the sound of her softly snoring. I turn around and am hit with the loveliest smell I have ever experienced. It's the smell of my late Nana's home. Her perfume is everywhere. After that moment the man was gone. It's like she came into the home and removed his presence. I can't explain it. All I know is that I haven't smelled that scent in well over 20 years, and I doubt I'll ever smell it again. I have something similar. Little bit of context: my uncle and I were super close, and I was 9 when he died of cancer. So when I was a kid, there was and still occasionally is a ghost or some kind of thing in my house, hangs around my parents' bedroom/attached bathroom, the bedroom in the older part of the house. We built a second story, and occasionally my room. When I was alone upstairs, it would turn off the lights in whatever room I was in, and turn them back on if I left that room, but turn off whatever room I was in. It would walk directly behind me with these heavy, thunderous footsteps, breathe down my neck, whisper this fast, creepy sounding gibberish into my ear, throw stuff off of my shelves. The few times I actually saw this thing, it looked to be the silhouette of a tall, skinny guy, not muscular but not chubby. And it only would mess with me, no one else. I used to tell my uncle about this guy and how much it would scare me, and he would reassure me that I was gonna be okay and that he would always do whatever he could to protect me. After he died, most of the ghost's antics stopped, and it would occasionally try, but I wasn't as scared anymore. And I've seen my uncle's silhouette walk through the living room, and he'd tap my shoulder when he'd pass me. One time when I was crying, I felt his hand rubbing my back trying to comfort me. He still hangs around sometimes, and I love him still. It's nice to know even now he still cares and watches over me. One time, me and 2 other friends from Miami went home to my home in Kansas to visit my grandmother because she wasn't doing well. She later passed away that month, and one night me and my friend went out on a drive while my other friend stayed with my grandma to check on her every once a while. Anyway, me and my friend had went out to go find, I don't remember exactly what, so I'm just going to say a random product, milk. We had took a wrong turn, and this part almost seemed like out of a movie. Our radio had stopped working. It was like maybe 10 p.m. out there, so currently, we in the middle of a random dirt road in almost nowhere in Kansas. Me and my friend get out of the car to see our surroundings because there wasn't any service, and about 5 minutes outside of our car, we see a very large deer, jumping around in the field to our right side. I get my buddy to look at the deer and he sees it, too. It was maybe like 50 yards away from us. About like half a football field. The deer has seen us, too. It all goes silent. The large deer starts to let the super loud scream that almost sounds like a fucking elk but a lot more human-like, that goes on for about 15 seconds, and in the middle of it he starts to stand up on his 2 legs and starts to run at us. We get back in the car so quick and drive away as fast as we can, as fast as our car can go. I remember distinctly that sometime in the middle of our panic, our radio starts to come on and it's playing a Ward tour by a tribe called Quest. That was one of my favorite songs, but now I can't listen to it without remembering that scene. When came straight home and I pulled my friend to the side and me and my other friend tell him the story of what had happened, and throughout the whole time, he thought that we were bullshitting him. I think by some point, he started to believe the story, but it was by far the creepiest I have ever experienced.